Have you ever sat in complete stillness and felt the heavy truth that nobody is coming to rescue you? That realization is the spark, the shift where everything changes. Life stops feeling like a playground the moment you see it clearly. Think about how many of the people you label as friends actually stand beside you when you're broken, exhausted, or in need. How many would sacrifice their comfort the way you've done for them? Almost none, because reality is harsh. Your struggles belong to you alone. And in that space, during those long, forgotten nights when the world isn't paying attention, you carve out and nothing can shatter. If comfort is all you want, keep chasing people. But if you crave real strength, learn to walk alone. That's when your inner fire ignites. When your phone doesn't buzz, when your inbox is silent, when your back presses against the wall. That's the moment you rise. Stop mourning those who abandoned you. Stop begging for affection from people who can't even love themselves. Greatness is forged in solitude. When there's no shoulder to lean on, the only option is to become a force that can't be stopped. You never truly needed them. You only forgot the raw power that exists in silence. Solitude brings out a strength that crowds will never reveal. In a world buzzing with chatter, judgment, distractions, and endless approval seeking, very few are brave enough to face the kind of silence that strips everything away. Yet it is in that silence, in that pause, in that empty space with no applause, where your true power begins to take shape. With no one clapping, no one checking you, you're one reassuring you, you're left with a choice to collapse or build. And that single decision becomes the birthplace of transformation. The truth is, most people avoid solitude because they're terrified of what it will uncover. They don't want to face their thoughts. They don't want to acknowledge their weaknesses. They'd rather bury the discomfort under noise, shallow friendships, or endless scrolling. But the few who choose differently, the bold, the disciplined, the ones who eventually rule their world, they don't run from solitude. They step into it on purpose. They welcome the unease because they understand what others never will. Diamonds are only created under immense pressure, and solitude is where that pressure lives. When you're alone, the mask you wear in front of others falls off. There's no pretending, no acting, no hiding. It's just you staring back at yourself, forced to ask the toughest questions. Who am I when no one sees me? What do I stand for when no one's around? Am I genuinely proud of the person I'm becoming? There's no distraction to soften those answers. No one there to convince you you're enough when you know you're falling short of your own potential, and that's where real strength is built. Not in the gym, not in the spotlight, not in the cheers of strangers, but in those private, grueling moments where you decide you won't accept mediocrity anymore. Solitude doesn't just test your willpower, it unmasks it. Because the truth is, anyone can feel strong when they're surrounded by encouragement. Anyone can move forward when people are pushing them. But try showing up every morning with nothing but your own determination. Try pressing forward when the entire world doubts you. That's where true grit lives. Real resilience is rising when every reason tells you to stay down. Real power is creating from nothing, without help, without approval, without recognition. Look at the lion. He doesn't need the jungle to validate his crown. He already knows who he is. His confidence lives in his very being. And that's the kind of truth you need to carry too. If you're genuinely strong, you don't need to flaunt it. You don't need the world's applause because you're not building for them. You're proving it to yourself. That you can endure, that you can grow, that you can stand tall even when nobody notices. Solitude makes every flaw visible. You can't cover laziness with likes or hide undisciplined habits behind friends. If you delay, it's on you. If you fail to show discipline, it's obvious. There's no scapegoat, no one to absorb the blame. It's just you and your reflection. And that is the gift of being alone. It eliminates excuses. It uncovers the truth of who you are when the noise is stripped away. And once you see that truth, no matter how painful, it gives you the blueprint to become unstoppable. Because you can't fix what you refuse to confront, and you can't become powerful until you face every weakness head-on. Solitude also teaches patience. When you're left with yourself, you have no choice but to slow down, to sit with your thoughts, to deal with emotions instead of running from them. You learn to trust the grind, to embrace a journey, to stop obsessing over instant wins. The focus shifts from short-term pleasure to long-term greatness. And in that steady burn, your clarity sharpens, your body strengthens you for laser focus, your purpose begins to roar. You stop floating aimlessly and start moving deliberately. Every step carries weight. Every choice carries meaning because now you're not chasing applause, and once you've mastered walking alone, no one can ever take that away. That type of power becomes permanent. You become untouchable because your sense of worth is no longer tied to anyone else. That doesn't mean you won't love others. That doesn't mean you won't build meaningful bonds. But it means you won't fear their absence. You stop handing away your power. You stop defining yourself through others' eyes. Because no matter what happens, you've proven that you can rely on yourself. You've walked through your darkest days and still climbed out stronger. You've lived in the trenches and come out with dignity intact. That's a kind of resilience most people will never understand. Society will try to convince you that being alone is weakness. That needing space means failure. That independence equals loneliness. Don't believe it. Most people haven't spent a single day sitting with their own soul. They're running from their reflections, hiding in noise, afraid of being forgotten. But you are shaping yourself into someone who doesn't need the world's attention to feel whole. You're learning the art of enjoying your own presence. You're mastering your thoughts. You're building your empire in silence. So the next time you feel like you're missing out, remember, crowds don't build character. Parties don't sharpen focus. Attention doesn't create power. Solitude is the battlefield where strength is born, the weapon that makes you unshakable, the sanctuary that forges you into more than you were yesterday. And when you emerge from it, sharper, tougher, wiser, you'll finally see that those nights alone were never punishment. They were training. They were preparation for a life where you lead instead of follow, where you construct instead of beg, where you don't just scrape by, you dominate. Because the truth is undeniable, solitude doesn't just reveal strength, it transforms you into it. Betrayal, too, is one of life's harshest teachers. Its sting cuts deeper than any one to the body because it comes from where you least expect it, from the people you trusted, the ones you believed would always stand beside you. But here's the hidden truth. Betrayal, as painful as it is necessary. It's the only way you truly uncover who belongs in your circle and who never deserved a seat at your table. When false loyalty crumbles, what remains isn't just heartbreak, it's vision. And that vision is priceless. It reveals who's genuine, who's worth the investment, and who is only an anchor holding you back. Betrayal is not simply disloyalty. It's a ruthless filter. It separates the fitter at fake, the allies from the opportunists. Because when everything's going well, when you're winning, everyone wants to be close. But real loyalty, the kind that stands firm when storms hit, is rare. Betrayal unmasks those who only enjoyed your shine but disappeared when darkness came. And in that way, betrayal is a gift. It spares you from wasting more of your life on the undeserving. It forces you to shade the dead weight slowing you down. It demands that you value yourself enough to walk away from anyone who shatters your trust. It also teaches you about boundaries. When someone betrays you, it's not just about broken trust. It's a violation of your values, your space, your sense of safety. It's the clearest sign that certain will be allowed too close. And that's fine. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone is family. Not everyone should be called a friend. Betrayal pushes you to draw sharper lines, to become the guardian of your energy, your time, your heart. You start spotting red flags faster. You stop ignoring your instincts. You demand respect instead of begging for scraps. And maybe the most overlooked betrayal gives is proof of your own resilience. At first, it feels like it breaks you. But if you allow it, that same pain becomes fuel. It tests your character, forces you to rise stronger, and teaches you forgive not for them, but for your own peace. And through that process, you discover a clearer, bolder version of yourself. The people who turn against you don't get the privilege of deciding your destiny. That choice remains yours alone. Enduring betrayal shows you that your strength surpasses heartbreak, your wisdom outweighs deceit, and your ability to rise goes beyond setbacks. That inner toughness becomes for stronger connections and an unshakable sense of self-value. Deception also sharpens how you see others. Once you've been hurt, you no longer hand out trust recklessly. You start observing more careful, loosening the truth hidden behind masks. Naivety fades, blind optimism disappears. Instead, you watch actions more than promises, because words can mislead, but behavior reveals everything. This clarity guards you from future wounds and allows you to surround yourself with those who choose loyalty freely, not out of convenience. In the bigger picture, betrayal is a brutal but necessary part of your path. It clears out the shallow pretenses that you can recognize who truly belongs in your corner. It molds you into someone tougher, wiser, and more self-aware. It shows you that solitude is better than being surrounded by traitors. It reminds you your trust and your time are precious resources, never to be given cheaply. And above all, it uncovers the people who will stand with you through chaos, who honor your boundaries, and who uplift instead of destroy. When betrayal strikes, don't allow it to crush you. Use it as fuel to become someone who will never again accept anything honesty and loyalty. Once this lesson sinks in, you cannot be stopped. Real evolution only happens where discomfort exists, and yet many resist it as if it were poison. We live in a society addicted to ease, to instant rewards. But true transformation, the kind that raises you above average, never takes root in safety. Growth demands unease. It requires hardship, it insists on struggle. For growth is born in the fire of adversity, never in the calm of comfort. To rise, to improve, to toughen your mind and spirit, you must lean into what hurts instead of escaping it. Human instinct avoids pain and chases pleasure, perfect for survival, terrible for progress. Growth rarely feels pleasant. It disguises itself as failure before it reveals success. It shows up as confusion before clarity. It arrives as hardship before resilience. When you're picking up new skills, sharpening talents, or breaking destructive patterns, awkwardness and discomfort are inevitable. Feeling defeated is normal, but those feelings aren't a reason to stop. They're proof you're moving in the right direction. Strain and unease are the language of growth. They are signs that your mind, body, and spirit are expanding. Look at elite athletes, entrepreneurs, or anyone at the top of their field. They never got there by choosing comfort. They got there by pushing limits, waking up early while exhausted, persisting through rejection, and ignoring doubt. Every scarred hand, every failed attempt, every restless night stands as evidence of their refusal to quit while uncomfortable. Muscles don't grow without first being torn. Mental resilience doesn't form without trials that shake you. Emotional strength doesn't emerge without walking through storms that test your core. Discomfort is the raw material that remakes you. When you stop seeing it as punishment and start recognizing it as opportunity, you'll understand its value. Those moments when you feel weakest, when you're closest to giving up, that's where the deepest transformation happens. If you push through, you expand your boundaries, rewrite your personal narrative, and build habits that don't allow mediocrity to take root. This is what separates those who win from those who remain stuck. Champions don't chase ease, they chase difficulty. They know every time they stretch beyond their safe zone, they grow more fearless, more capable, more unstoppable. Embracing discomfort also humbles you and trains your patience. Progress isn't instant. It's often invisible, slow, and grueling. You learn that failure is never final. It's simply a stepping stone. You accept that the process must be trusted even when the outcome isn't clear. And you realize that while others may not notice your progress, it doesn't make it any less real. Struggle, doubt, and uncertainty are fleeting, but the strength you gain lasts forever. Those who run from discomfort lock themselves into small lives. They never build the foundation to handle more, so they settle for less. Discomfort also rewires your thinking. It dismantles entitlement and laziness. When you're forced into struggle, excuses collapse. You can't blame the world. You're forced to confront your own fears, flaws, and limits, and then choose whether you'll master them or surrender to them. That inner conflict is where growth breathes. Every uncomfortable situation is a fork in the road. Do you retreat or do you move forward? Advancement only happens when you push forward through the struggle. In the end, embracing discomfort sets you free. Once you get used to being uneasy, change no longer terrifies you. You stop gripping onto what feels safe. You begin opening yourself to endless opportunities. You grow unshakable because your security is no longer built on outside circumstances. It comes from within. That's why growth through discomfort is so powerful. It tears down limits and unlocks extraordinary possibility. So when discomfort knocks, don't hide. Don't beg it to go away, because the stronger, wiser version of yourself is waiting on the other side. Real strength is not chasing applause. It's invalidating yourself. Society wires us to crave approval, praise, and recognition from the moment we're children. But relying on others for your worth is weakness. It hands your power away. If your confidence rises and falls based on likes, claps, or compliments, you're at the mercy of outside noise. Real unshakable self-belief is built within. It doesn't need a stamp of approval. Depending on others for validation is weakness because it's unstable. People's judgments shift constantly. One day they celebrate you, the next they tear you apart. If your identity is tied to that cycle, you'll forever be stuck in emotional turbulence. You'll wake up asking, am I enough? Did I impress them? That state of mind steals peace, drains focus, and keeps you trapped in their control. You become a character in someone else's script instead of the author of your own. When your worth relies on others, you start bending yourself to their expectations. You lose authenticity, chasing approval. But when you recognize your own value without outside input, everything changes. You become the authority of your self-worth. You identify your strengths without requiring applause. You create an unshakable confidence that no insult can destroy and no compliment can falsely inflate. This self-approval creates resilience. It eliminates the fear of, what will they think, and replaces it with calm certainty. I know who I am, and that is enough. That is power. That is freedom. That is the foundation of success. Self-validation is not arrogance, nor is it ignoring advice. It means holding a baseline worth that be dictated by others. It means trusting your own judgment before anyone else's. Once you validate yourself, you become open to genuine growth. You're no longer defensive or desperate to prove yourself. You accept feedback when useful and dismiss it when toxic. You set your own standards and never allow others to lower them. That's how true leaders are built. That's the mindset of real winners. Self-approval creates genuineness. Once you stop hunting for other people's recognition, you quit acting. You don't hide behind false fronts or take on fake roles to blend in or to impress anyone. You show up as yourself with no apologies. And here's the twist: the moment you become real, respect comes naturally, because honesty mixed with confidence draws people in. You gain opportunity connections based on your actual self, not on a version crafted to please others. That is lasting success. That is true power. That is long-term happiness. Depending on others to feel validated destroys mental balance. Constant craving for approval can spiral into anxiety, insecurity, and depression. It opens the door to manipulation and harmful relationships, since fear makes you tolerate what disrespects you. But when you validate yourself, you form healthy boundaries effortlessly. You recognize your worth. You refuse to compromise because you're not desperate for acceptance. You learn to say no without shame, and you walk away from anyone or anything that doesn't value you. This kind of inner strength shields you in every corner of life. Learning self-validation isn't instant, but it's one of the most powerful lessons you'll ever learn. It starts with awareness of yourself, knowing your principles, your talents, and your limits. Then it's strengthened with compassion, treating yourself gently even when you slip up. It continues with discipline, pushing to grow not because others demand it, but because you respect yourself enough to improve. And it solidifies with self-trust, having faith in your choices and standing tall in who you are, regardless of outside noise. Each time you notice yourself craving someone's approval or doubting your worth based on their opinion, remind yourself you are your own standard. You are your own warrior. Once you accept that, no external voice has the power to crush you or control you. That is freedom. That is success. So stop searching outward for permission to shine. Stop measuring your worth with someone else's scale. Approve of yourself. Claim your power. Walk with certainty born within, because seeking approval is weakness. Giving it to yourself makes you unstoppable. Being by yourself isn't punishment, it's preparation for greatness. Many only realize this after walking through the fire of solitude and rising stronger on the other side. The world often labels aloneness as negative, as something to avoid, as something scary. We've been conditioned to think being alone means you're a failure or that you've been abandoned or rejected. That's false. Being alone is not a curse. It's the forge where greatness is built. It's the space where you uncover your real self, sharpen your focus, and build a foundation so firm nothing can shake you. In solitude, distractions disappear, the outside noise fades. You're left with yourself, and that can feel uncomfortable. You face your fears, doubts, and flaws directly with no escape. But that confrontation sparks growth. You begin to see what drives you, what stops you, and what you genuinely want from life. This self-knowledge is the gateway to greatness. You can't build something lasting without knowing exactly who you are and what you represent. Being alone also strengthens discipline and independence. When there's no one else to rely on, you learn to depend on yourself. You become your own source of strength, motivation, and direction. This independence is key to greatness because even if many support you, there will be moments when you must stand alone. If you already know how to thrive in solitude, those moments feel like opportunities instead of struggles. You develop resilience that carries you forward even when the world seems against you. Alone time also allows you to perfect your skills without interruption. True excellence demands mastery, and mastery requires hours of focused effort. When you're on your own, you control your schedule and environment. You can build routines that maximize growth and remove the noise that comes with constant interaction. That focus separates the average from the extraordinary. Excuses vanish because there's no one else to blame. You create habits that align with your goals and eliminate those that hold you back. Another gift of solitude is building a relationship with yourself. Greatness isn't just outer achievement, it's inner fulfillment and peace. If you can't enjoy your own company, if you always need external attention or distraction, you'll never be satisfied no matter what you achieve. Alone time allows you to develop self-respect, self-love, and emotional maturity. These qualities create true leadership and influence. When you can manage your own thoughts and feelings, you can guide others from a place of strength instead of insecurity. Solitude also clears your vision by removing outside opinions and expectations. You see your goals without distortion. You trust your gut and make decisions true to your purpose. That clarity is essential for greatness because it keeps you steady when distractions or failures appear. You aren't moved by trends or fleeting approval. You move with intention and conviction because you've taken time to define what matters most to you. Most importantly, solitude equips you for the moments when you making a difficult choice, facing criticism, or pushing through trials. Greatness requires standing firm by yourself. When you view solitude as preparation instead of punishment, you embrace those moments' readiness. You don't fear isolation. You see it as part of the path. You don't let others define your worth or direction. You steer your own ship with unshakable will. The discomfort of being alone fades, but the wisdom and strength you gain stay forever. Many avoid solitude by chasing validation, relationships, or constant company. But in doing so, they miss the greatest chance for transformation. Greatness is not given, it's earned in the unseen hours. It's built in the lonely mornings, in the nights of sacrifice, in the effort made away from applause. Solitude is the training ground, mindset, and skills that allow you to conquer. So when you find yourself alone, don't see it as failure. See it as opportunity. Use that time well. Dive into self-discovery, develop your abilities, build your inner world. When you come out of solitude, you won't just be ready for greatness, you'll already embody it. Being alone, it's the launch pad for an unstoppable future. Embracing it is not defeat, it's power. When you accept solitude, you take back control of your growth and your destiny. That time becomes your sacred ground where distractions vanish and your inner voice becomes sharp, strong, and undeniable. It's where you peel off the masks others placed on you and start creating the version of yourself that is resilient, authentic, and unbreakable. Every great achiever has passed through this silence. They faced doubts, loneliness, and emptiness and turned it into fuel for their rise. So don't run from solitude, welcome it. Let it test you, shape you, and prepare you. Use it to sharpen your thoughts, discipline, and awareness. When you step back into the world, you'll carry a confidence no outside opinion can shake, a focus that directs your every move, and a strength that transforms obstacles into opportunities. Being alone is not punishment, it's preparation. Claim it, master it, and let it transform into the greatness you were destined for. Solitude is your strength, own it, and you will rise.